I remember the exact moment it felt like the ground had dropped out from under me. She said, softly, almost apologetically, "I just need a walk to clear my head." I believed her. I nodded, watched her slip on her coat, and felt that familiar, heavy ache, the one that comes from loving someone too much to question them. But even as I closed the door behind her, a small knot of unease began to form. There was something in the way she avoided my gaze, in the slight tremor in her hands as she fumbled with her keys. It was too precise to be casual. I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe she was just tired. Maybe work had worn her down. Yet sitting alone on the couch, the apartment felt emptier than ever. Her words replayed endlessly in my mind. "I need a walk." What used to be an ordinary phrase, something any couple might say after a quarrel, now felt like a coded message, hiding a secret. My normally calm mind began to churn. I tried to focus on reading, on the hum of the refrigerator, on anything to drown out the creeping anxiety, but the silence was louder than anything. Hours passed. The night pressed cold against the windows, and an uneasy pit settled in my stomach. When she finally called around midnight, her voice was calm. Too calm. "I'm just around the corner. Be home soon." I forced a smile into the phone, heart hammering in a rhythm no logic could quiet. Deep down, I already knew something had shifted. The instinctive trust one had in her was fraying, thread by thread, in the quiet darkness of our living room. The first cracks became visible over the next week. Missed calls. Messages deleted before I could see them. She laughed at my jokes. Yes, but sometimes it felt rehearsed, like the warmth in her eyes didn't quite reach her soul. Unfamiliar scents clung to her coat, traces lingering on the pillow where she slept. I wondered if I was imagining things, seeing patterns that weren't there, but the alarms kept ringing. I started checking the building's security footage. Not because I had completely lost faith, but because the knot in my chest demanded proof. It was Friday night when I finally did it. I sat in front of the monitor, fingers trembling, a half-empty bottle of whiskey sweating in my hand. At first, everything seemed normal. The lobby emptied, fluorescent lights humming. Then I saw her. She stepped out like she always did, coat pulled tight, hair tucked behind her ears. Her pace was steady, yet there was a tilt to her head, a slight hesitation in her steps that made my stomach lurch. Then, as if the world slowed, she stopped at the curb. A car pulled up, the driver's door opened, and she slid in. My heart stopped. She glanced around, ensuring no one watched, and settled into the seat with a calm familiarity that twisted inside me like a knife. I paused the footage, hands shaking, sweat prickling at my temples. I stared, willing the screen to lie, willing it to be a mistake, but there was no denying it. She was in another man's car, calm, deliberate, as though this had happened before. Waves of betrayal hit me, sharp and relentless. Memories of our life together flickered in my mind like broken film, anniversaries, late-night talks, laughter that now seemed borrowed. The next hours passed in a blur. I tried calling her, voice cracking each time I dialed. When she returned, her eyes carried a mix of guilt and defensiveness, almost daring. "I just needed space," she said, brushing past me. I wanted to scream, to shake her until she remembered every vow, every whispered promise. Instead, I collapsed onto the couch, numb, feeling everything I thought I knew slip away. We sat in tense silence for hours. Finally, I asked, in a voice I barely recognized, "Why?" She didn't deny it, didn't fully explain. I felt lost, unthinking, consumed by shock. "I made a mistake," she admitted softly, the words fragile but piercing to the core. I wanted to hate her, to walk away, to make her feel the emptiness she had created, but the love was still there, stubborn and painful, clinging to the wreckage. I slept in the spare room that night, betrayal pressing on me like a physical weight. Every memory of her felt tainted. Was the laughter genuine? Were the late-night talks real, or just rehearsed performances? I questioned myself too. My blindness, my trust, my refusal to notice the warning signs. The next morning, I watched the footage again, over and over, as if repetition could make the lie something I could accept. The turning point came quietly. She came to me, tears in her eyes, hand trembling. "I'm sorry," she whispered. And in that moment, I saw the depth of her own fracture. She wasn't cruel, just human, flawed, searching for something she couldn't name without hurting the one she loved. I could see the remorse, the confusion, the fear. Love alone was not enough to fix this. We talked for hours. I asked questions I already knew the answers to. She told me things I wish I hadn't heard, the emotional voids, the moments of loneliness that had led her elsewhere. I listened, heartbreaking, trying to reconcile the woman I knew with the choices I couldn't forgive. Forgiveness felt impossible, but so did leaving. My world had shattered into pieces that no longer fit, no matter how desperately I wanted them to. In the following weeks, I had to make choices, not just about her, but about myself. Could I trust again? Could I rebuild, or simply accept the truth? And in quiet moments alone, I realized something fundamental. Love does not promise safety. Trust is not a shield against betrayal. What it guarantees is exposure, vulnerability in its rawest form. There was no neat closure, no cinematic confrontation, just a quiet acceptance that life had changed forever. And in that acceptance, there was a strange clarity, a painful kind of strength. Betrayal can strip you bare, but it also reveals who you are beneath love, beneath certainty. Sometimes late at night, I still watch the footage, not out of obsession, but to remind myself how fragile trust is, how complex desire can be, and the truths I carry forward. Love is never guaranteed. It is a risk, and the cost of that risk can be everything you thought you knew in an instant. Yet, despite it all, I survived. I learned to breathe in the quiet aftermath, to let the silence teach resilience. Betrayal may fracture the heart, but it does not end it. And in that fractured space, I can still feel hope's edges, sharp but real, reminding me that even after being shattered, I am whole enough to choose my own path forward.